Hey guys, it is Tamara. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about trauma-based therapy and what makes it unique and different than generalized therapy. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my specialty today and how to find your own trauma therapist. So thank you so much for coming back to my channel. For those who are subscribed and for those who are new, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button so that you can stick around with us and be part of our growing and validating community. The benefits for you in today's video is that I'm going to talk about trauma-informed therapy, and I'm going to tell you why it's a little bit different from any other form of therapy that you may be used to. So when you hear the word trauma therapy, what comes to mind? Do you think, PTSD therapist? Do you think a therapist that can help veterans? Do you think trauma therapist for foster kids and adopted kids? What comes to mind for you? Because a lot of people look at trauma therapy as a specialized practice for a specialized group of people. I think in modern times, in today's society, we've gotten better about that, right? We see trauma therapy on a broader scale. We see it as something that can help heal post-traumatic stress disorder. We see it as something that can help heal stress. We see it as something that should be pursued when someone has been in a very negative and emotionally exhausting relationship. We kind of broadened our view and our understanding of trauma therapy more than, older generations. I think older generations found trauma therapy to be only beneficial to veterans, to individuals suffering from PTSD, and for individuals who are in the adoption and foster care system. And that's just not true. Today's society focuses more on, treating bad relationships and the parent-child relationship, and, focusing on the traumatizing aspects of codependency and emotional relationships and affairs and things like that. So I think the concept of trauma therapy has really changed over time. Now, I had someone on my channel, one of my subscribers, ask me, what's the difference between trauma therapy and other kinds of therapy? And I think that was a good question, because a lot of people get really confused about what trauma therapy is. Trauma therapy is really the idea that that the human person experiences what's called the biopsychosocial influences. It's the biopsychosocial model, okay? And I'm going to put that somewhere around me so that you can see what that looks like, the biopsychosocial model. And really what we're saying with that is that an individual is impacted by all of these things, by the biology, their genetics, by the psychology of who they are, by the social environment in which they grow up, right? The biopsychosocial model. So we're focusing on all of that: genes and biology, environment, and then the social relationships that go along with that. What makes trauma therapy different, and this has just been my experience, is that generalized mental health really just seeks to target mental health. Any mental health problem that you're dealing with, it seeks to target it. And it also seeks to target treating mental illnesses and diagnosing and labeling. Whereas trauma therapy really doesn't have that same goal. Trauma therapy seeks to specialize and target one specific symptom that you're dealing with, or one specific set of symptoms, or one specific situation that you're trying to resolve. So it's a specialty, and you might want to consider trauma therapy a subspecialty of mental health counseling, okay? Trauma therapy also really focuses on the stress model. It also focuses on the connection between biology and genes and environment. So we're looking at, how did this child grow up? What is the genetic background of this family? Is there intergenerational trauma? Is there trauma from that individual's history that's impacting them in today, right? Or while they're trying to develop throughout childhood or adolescence, right? Trauma therapy also seeks to do a lot of family questionnaires, a lot of family assessment, a lot of family examinations to figure out how big of an impact has the family had on you. And if it had an impact, what was that impact and how long were you affected by it? Okay, so we really are looking at the past, and we're bringing the past to the front to try to figure out how to help and support you the best. If there's nothing involving the family or anything in your background that we need to deal with, then we start focusing on the neurological aspects of trauma. So how has the trauma impacted the development of your brain? How has it impacted the neurochemical processes of the brain, right? How has it impacted the neurotransmitters, dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, and acetylcholine, and all the other neurotransmitters and chemicals in the brain, right? How has trauma impacted the prefrontal cortex, the area where you need to, really have the ability to make decisions and to balance your emotions and to not be impulsive and, to really be able to focus and tend to the tasks in front of you. So how has it impacted the prefrontal cortex, right? Then we are also looking at how has the amygdala and the limbic system within the brain communicated about what's going on in your environment, right? Is the red flag going off when it shouldn't? The red warning light going off when it shouldn't, right? Is your body being falsely triggered to be afraid, to go into fight or flight mode, right? To feel really stressed and overwhelmed and tense. So the trauma aspect of counseling really does focus on the whole person, the whole man. It doesn't just look at mental health in its entirety. It really specializes and narrows down what the treatment needs to be. And if you get a really good and experienced trauma therapist, they're going to be able to bring in other providers into your treatment, a neurologist, a neuroscientist, a psychiatrist, right? A PCP or primary care physician or family doctor, an advocate. They're going to be able to bring different people in to help support you, okay? Now, I have been licensed, but I've been certified by the National Association of Trauma Professionals, the International Association of Trauma Professionals, I'm sorry. So it's the IATP, and my training over the years has been very specific, okay? I look at 4 different components when I do trauma therapy with my clients. I look at the brain-body connection. So how is the brain influencing your body? How is the brain impacting what's going on in your body? And how is what's going on within your body impacting your brain, right? Especially for children and adolescents, because they're still in brain development. Our brains don't fully develop until age 26. So when I get kids and teens, I'm really trying to look at the brain-body connection. What's going on here? And where can we bring in a neurologist? And where do I need to get a neuropsychological or psychiatric test done to really explore how their environment and their genes have impacted their brain development? Okay, so that's the first thing I look at. The second thing I look at is neuroscience. So I want to know, do we need to get an MRI done? Okay, do we need to get a CAT scan done? Has there been any traumatic brain injuries, right? TBIs? Have there been any concussions that may be changing the personality and the behavior of my patient or my client? Okay, so I'm looking at that. The other thing I'm looking at is the stress model, and I talk about it a lot up here in this video. And I'm going to put some things in the description box for you as well. But I talk about the stress model that the stress model is called the diathesis stress model. Okay, I call it the stress model just to make it short and simple for most of my clients and my patients. But the stress model really does focus on the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. I talk about it a lot on this channel, so if you go ahead and scroll down my videos, you're going to see it. I talk about the brake pedal and the gas pedal, and that's something that I'm like zoned in on because that makes a difference to me. I need to know, is your fight or flight system being triggered when it shouldn't be? Is your body in sympathetic nervous system arousal when it should not be? Okay, when it should be in parasympathetic nervous system mode, right, where there's a break and things are down and slowing down and you're calm and you're cool and collected, that's where you want to be. I need to know, is your body being triggered to be in sympathetic nervous system arousal state? And if so, we got a problem because your body is being triggered to be hypervigilant and react when it shouldn't. So that's what I'm looking for. The final thing that I look for is the role of the family. How is the family helping to make this a little bit more complicated? We already have brain development that needs to be looked at. We have the brain-body connection. We have the stress model that needs to be looked at. Now, how is the family impacting this, right? Are they making it worse? Is there family history of trauma that needs to be looked at? So my kind of trauma training really looks at the full picture. And not only do I look at the full picture, but I see you over a course of multiple sessions to get to know you and to find your baseline and then see what happens when you're upset. And then I give you my opinion on what's going on and I treat it from there. okay? And I might actually in the next couple of videos share some things with you that may be helpful. I'll share some trauma-based activities that I do with my clients that you can actually do right at home. So stay tuned for that video. Thank you so much for being with me today, guys, in this video. I encourage you to give it a thumbs up if it was helpful. I'm going to post some ways that you can locate a trauma therapist in the description box below. I'm running out of time, so I can't talk about that, but I will put it in the description box for you. Share this video with somebody that it's going to be helpful for. All right, I'll see you soon.